Episode 17, The Challenge That Made Me Stronger. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our A to English podcast. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Thank you for joining me again. Today's story is called The Challenge That Made Me Stronger. Life is not always easy. Sometimes everything goes well. We feel confident. We achieve our goals. We enjoy every day. But sometimes life becomes difficult. Problems appear without warning. Our plans fail. We make mistakes. We feel disappointed. During those moments, we have two choices. We can give up, or we can become stronger. Today's story is about one of the biggest challenges I have ever faced. It happened about 2 years ago. At that time, I had already developed many good habits. I woke up early. I studied English every day. I exercised regularly. I read books every evening. Everything seemed to be going well. I believed I had finally found the perfect routine. Then one unexpected event changed everything. One Monday morning, I arrived at work as usual. However, something felt different. People were talking quietly. Some looked worried. Others were checking their phones again and again. A few minutes later, our manager called everyone into the meeting room. He looked serious. After everyone sat down, he took a deep breath. "Our company is facing financial problems," he said. "The next few months will be difficult." The room became completely silent. Nobody spoke. Everyone waited for more information. "We will have to reduce some projects," he continued. "And unfortunately, some employees may lose their jobs." My heart started beating faster. I looked around the room. Some people looked shocked. Others looked down at the floor. No one knew what would happen next. For the rest of the day, I could not concentrate. I kept asking myself the same questions. What if I lose my job? What will I do? How will I pay my bills? Fear slowly filled my mind. That evening, I returned home feeling exhausted. I wanted to study English, but I couldn't focus. I opened my book. I read the same page 3 times. I still couldn't understand it. Finally, I closed the book. I sat quietly for several minutes. Then I remembered something I had written in my notebook months earlier. You cannot control every situation, but you can control your response. I opened my notebook and read those words again. Slowly, I began to calm down. I realized something important. I could not control the company's situation, but I could control how I prepared for the future. The next morning, instead of worrying, I made a plan. First, I updated my resume. Then I improved my LinkedIn profile. I continued studying English every day. I also started learning new computer skills through free online courses. Every evening, I spent 1 hour improving myself. I decided that no matter what happened, I would become more valuable. A week later, I met my friend Daniel. He noticed that I looked tired. "What happened?" he asked. I explained everything. He listened carefully. Then he smiled. "I know this is difficult," he said. "But remember something. Challenges don't only test us. They also prepare us." I thought about his words all day. Perhaps he was right. Maybe this difficult situation could become an opportunity. From that day forward, I stopped focusing on fear. Instead, I focused on growth. Every morning, I asked myself one question. What can I learn today? Some days I learned a new English expression. Other days I learned a computer shortcut. Sometimes I read an article about communication. Sometimes I watched a video about leadership. Little by little, I became more confident. Even though the future was uncertain, I knew I was improving every single day. Then one Friday afternoon, my manager asked me to come to his office. I took a deep breath before opening the door. I had no idea what he was going to say. The challenge that made me stronger. I knocked gently. "Come in," he said. I entered the office and sat down. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, he smiled. "I know the last few weeks have been stressful for everyone." I nodded. Yes, they have. He looked at a file on his desk before continuing. I've been watching how our employees have handled this difficult situation. He paused for a moment. Some people became discouraged. Some stopped trying. But you did something different. I looked at him with surprise. What do you mean? He smiled. You continued improving yourself. I heard that you've been taking online courses after work. I've also noticed that your English has improved a lot. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had been studying quietly every evening without expecting anyone to notice. Then he said something that completely surprised me. We're creating a new team for an international project. We need someone who is willing to learn, communicate well, and solve problems. I would like you to join that team. For a few seconds, I couldn't speak. Only a month earlier, I had been worried about losing my job. Now I was being offered a new opportunity. I smiled and answered, "Thank you very much. I won't disappoint you." He stood up and shook my hand. "I know you won't." As I walked out of his office, I realized something important. The difficult weeks had changed me, not because the situation became easier, but because I had become stronger. That evening, I went home with a completely different feeling. I opened my notebook. On a new page, I wrote, "Difficult times reveal strong people." I looked at the sentence for a long time. Then I continued writing. When life becomes difficult, don't stop learning. When life becomes uncertain, improve your skills. When fear appears, choose action instead of excuses. Over the following months, I worked with the international team. Every day, I communicated in English. Sometimes I understood everything. Sometimes I needed people to repeat their ideas. Instead of feeling embarrassed, I simply asked politely, "Could you please repeat that?" Or, "Could you explain that in another way?" I discovered something interesting. People respected honesty. Nobody expected me to speak perfect English. They only expected me to communicate clearly and keep learning. Little by little, my confidence continued to grow. I also became friends with people from different countries. We talked about food. We talked about culture. We talked about our families and hobbies. Every conversation taught me something new. One afternoon, during an online meeting, one of my teammates said, "Ahmed, you always stay calm when problems appear." I smiled. To be honest, I wasn't always like that. "What changed?" she asked. I thought for a moment. Then I answered, "I learned that worrying doesn't solve problems. Learning does." Everyone smiled. After the meeting ended, I realized that this simple idea had become part of my personality. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" I had started asking, "What can this situation teach me?" That one question changed everything. It helped me become more patient, more confident, and more optimistic. Today, whenever I face a difficult challenge, I remember those stressful weeks. I remember the fear. I remember the uncertainty. But I also remember the decision I made. I decided not to stop growing. That decision changed my future. Now I understand that challenges are not only obstacles. Sometimes they are opportunities wearing different clothes. Sometimes they push us to discover abilities we didn't know we had. Sometimes they force us to become the person we were meant to be. Before ending today's episode, I would like you to answer these questions in English. What is the biggest challenge you have ever faced? What did you learn from that experience? How do you stay positive during difficult times? What new skill are you learning right now? Take a few minutes to answer these questions. Remember, every answer helps improve your English. Every mistake is another lesson. Every conversation is another step forward. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. I hope this story reminds you that difficult moments do not last forever. They come to teach us. They come to make us stronger. And they often prepare us for opportunities that we cannot see yet. Remember, your greatest growth often begins with your greatest challenge. Keep reading. Keep listening. Keep speaking. Keep learning. Stay patient. Stay curious. and never give up on yourself. I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.